And if Romney wants to run a real attack ad, man, he should do Dumont's story. I think he's pulling his punches. That's not very Republican of him. The Wayne Dumont story is really bad. You know, we've covered it a lot on the show in the past. That's the story of the serial rapist that Mike Huckabee released from jail because he raped Bill Clinton's cousin, and he was convinced that that it was some sort of conspiracy by Clinton and Clinton supporters to put this poor man in jail when he was a born-again Christian, and all he'd done was rape Bill Clinton's cousin. That's not so bad, is it? All right, that last part was made up. I hope he thinks that was bad. But he thought the guy got railroaded, and he, lobbied to get him released from jail, and he did get released, and he went and raped and killed 2 other women. And by the way, and of course Huckabee says, oh, I couldn't have seen that coming. Who could have seen it coming? Well, how about all the victims and the victims' families who wrote you all those letters that you read before you had them released? So, I mean, look, that's the real ad they should be running, because Huckabee is guilty of that. The reason Romney won't run that ad probably is because he did it for, to make Republicans in Arkansas and across the country happy. Like, ha ha, we got Bill Clinton, yeah? We let the guy you raped your cousin go. Ha ha! God, man, they are such vile people. All right, now speaking of vile people and this very issue, Huckabee then responds by saying, I'm not soft on crime. I'm really tough on crime. Do you know that I've executed more people than any other governor of Arkansas? Booyah! Yeah, what are you going to do now? And he's now, the ad that he didn't run, but he actually ran, the one he gave to the press, but said, oh, I'm not running this. I mean, look away as I run this ad for you on national TV, included a reference to something that he's been talking about a lot on the campaign, which is, Mitt Romney, he hasn't executed anybody. He's kind of weak sauce. If you were a real man, you'd have a lot of executions under your belt like I do. But Mitt Romney hasn't executed a single soul. What would Jesus do? Come on. How could you be president when you haven't actually slit anybody's throat? This guy. You can't elect him. Well, first of all, Massachusetts doesn't have the death penalty. What did you want the guy to do? Break somebody's neck on his spare time? I mean, and look at the Republicans, man. The bloodlust is out of control. They're like, they're competing over who hates the Mexicans more. Who's going to start more wars? Speaking of which, Giuliani, new campaign thing is he did a new foreign policy speech. He's like, how he always talks about going on the offense? He's not playing. He thinks we should do a surge in Afghanistan and double the number of American forces, 25,000 more American forces in Afghanistan. Listen, it's an interesting idea, actually, and I think it's actually worth discussing. But really, that's your campaign strategy? More war? Like Americans aren't sick of war? And of course, Mitt Romney's the guy who famously said, double Guantanamo Bay. We don't keep enough illegal prisoners illegally without giving them trials. We need to double it. And now, Huckabee turns around and says, oh yeah, Romney's a wuss because he hasn't executed anybody by hand. Okay, he doesn't say by hand, but he does say, hey, listen, I don't know if you can be president if you haven't put anybody to death. These are your, why don't they just have the blood dripping out of their mouths while they're speaking? Why don't they pull an Ozzy Osbourne and eat like bats on stage for the next Republican debate? It's a gore fest as to who is bloodier and more violent. These Republicans scare the living crap out of me, man. I mean, it's a horror fest. By the way, I also continue to be amused by the idea of the next Republican debate, where they try to literally outdo each other by pulling the Ozzy Osbourne. One of them's like, all right, toss me a bat, come on. Bites the head off the bat. That's what, Huckabee starts with that. And Romney's like, oh, please, come on. Give me a small rodent. Give me a squirrel. Bites the head off a squirrel. Giuliani's like, come on. Give me a cow. He attacks the cow. He's like, ah. That'd be awesome.